Hey, I'm Ethan Skolnick. I'm here with Greg Sylvander. This is the second Miami Heat. Floor's yours. I don't know what we call it. 5 on the floor. Miami Heat scrimmage live stream off of what we're doing. We're actually watching streams ourselves. Very legal streams, I will say. Very, very legal streams, kind of. Because the game is actually not going to be shown locally until 8 o'clock tonight on Fox Sports Sun, and the NBA TV feed is blacked out for a lot of you. So what we're going to do is give you, as we're watching it, some highlights here. I can tell you it's sort of late in the second quarter right now. The Heat are down. What are they down now? 5, 6? That my feed just changed, Greg.
It is 47-40 with 2:47 to go.
Okay, so 47. Second quarter. All right, so let's go through some of the highlights so far. One of the things we do here is take your questions. This is really more about you guys than it is about us. Obviously, we're putting out a new podcast for 5 on the Floor for overnight, Sunday into Monday. Primary takeaways for me, Greg, and you can jump in on any of these. The first thing is no Jimmy Butler, no Bam Adebayo. And I think we saw, again, the limitations, although I don't think offense was the big issue earlier, even though they couldn't score. The limitations they have without Jimmy as a primary ball handler, without Jimmy or Dragic. We talked about it. Kendrick Nunn is playing. Bam is not playing. Ball was in Kendrick's hands some. It was in Hero's hands some. Whoever's hands it was in, it didn't really seem to get to the right place. Thank you, by the way. Yes, the cables. I got the cables. But offensively, they were off. But to me, the biggest issue with the starting unit, and then we'll get to who played on the bench, is they cannot control the point of attack. And, this is something we've talked about a lot. And Mike Conley was getting pretty much anywhere he wanted. So does Royce O'Neal. And, Nunn and Hero were not really controlling it. The Heat did not begin to control the point of attack until Iguodala and Crowder came in and started to make things more difficult. Does this change when Jimmy's in there for Tyler? Because it does appear that Kendrick Nunn is going to be a starter.
I mean, I don't know. It's tough to say how much it changes because essentially Jimmy's going to really be initiating a lot of offense on that end. And, on the defensive side, I've seen in the comments here, they're flowing in about Myers Leonard getting eaten alive. And I really felt like it wasn't necessarily Myers that was, it was essentially he was having to play cleanup. So basically on both ends of the floor, the team is just a little discombobulated because I feel like a lot of guys are being put in spots that they're not normally going to be put into. So there's that plus the rust. So it's hard to evaluate this. Like, honestly, as you asked me that question, I almost had a hard time answering because it's like, it's such an atypical game when you not only are limiting minutes and roles and stuff like that, but also you don't have Jimmy and Bam. Like, without them, like, what are we really evaluating? So that's right. Like when I see Hero hit some shots and you see Kelly Olynyk playing well and Iggy making good reads, like that's the stuff that I'm going to take away from this so far.
Well, and you mentioned Myers, that he wasn't great. He picked up 3 fouls, but again, if the dribble penetration is allowing the ball to get that easily into the post, he's not a shot blocker. There's not really a whole lot he can do there. Another thing we know is we just got the question, why is Spo holding Bam out? Bam kind of held himself out today. When he talked to us yesterday, he said he was nervous when he got back out there. None wanted to play. I asked Kendrick yesterday on a Zoom call, I said, what are you going to do, to convince Spo? He said, I'm going to do what I can. And he obviously convinced Spo to play. And Spo did say it's a little different weight class. I think he's afraid of Bam, pulling a hamstring, coming back a little bit too quickly. I would expect him to play in the third scrimmage. But didn't go today. But I'm also watching now the Heat are down 7 with about 2 minutes left in the first half. The other thing I noticed is the DJJ thing. And we've talked a lot here on 5 on the Floor about who's going to be the odd man out in terms of these extra minutes if he only goes 10 between Iguodala, Crowder, and DJJ. Take Iguodala out of the equation. Andres looked great. We were talking on our thread about the pass he made to Olynyk. His ability to make reads coming out of the post, popping out. Andre's going to play a lot. Okay. Yeah. If he looks like
he doesn't make mistakes. Like that's a huge part of it. He doesn't make mistakes.
And they love that kind of player. If you look historically, whether it's a Dan Marley or a Shane Battier, they love the kind of player who just helps make things work. And he helps make things work. He is playing. So it really comes down to Jay Crowder versus DJJ. And to me, this is a knockout. It's not close. Jay stepped up, made a couple, a couple more threes. You watch the way they're guarding DJJ. He just missed another three. They're playing with Gobert some of the time, which basically means the Heat are playing 4-on-5 on offense.
Yeah,
I think DJJ started today as a placeholder. I don't think he's going to be part of the regular core 10-man rotation. I think he's going to be a change of pace guy for the zone. Jay Crowder and Iguodala have this chemistry, that they developed already. I just, to me, I don't know. I like DJJ, but to me, with this group, you're looking at the 10. I mean, the guys off the bench, and they played well today so far. It's Dragic, it's Olynyk, it's Crowder, it's Hero, it's Iguodala. That's the core.
That's the thing. When you have this kind of depth, unfortunately, there's going to be an extremely competent player that gets just pushed out. And unfortunately, for DJJ, he's going into a free agent summer. So obviously he wants these playoff minutes, but when the shooting, that's going to be a major issue. And this was happening before this whole shutdown, is that we started to see teams start to put their big or put the defender that they kind of least trusted on DJJ, and that creates a lot of other issues. So if you got a guy like Crowder, or if Iggy can hit shots or at least make smart reads that don't necessarily rely on his shooting, DJJ is probably kind of leaning in the direction of odd man out. But the only matchups that I think it's going to make a lot of sense for him is if you have a guard that we can't stay in front of and you need that kind of length, or if there's certain situations where the zone becomes super prominent, then maybe DJJ carves out a role. But ultimately, it's 2 scrimmages, so we have to obviously temper expectations in analysis, but it looks like he's probably the guy so far.
Yeah, and Kendrick Nunn just makes a 3, so the Heat are down 2 with about 25 seconds left. I will say that Kendricks looks smooth. I think athletically, conditioning wise, he looks fine. Eric gave him a second stint here in the first half. I think one thing we forget about Kendrick, in the 11 games after Rising Stars, where I remember commenting that he looked totally different because he was getting back from the Achilles injury, he made 44% of his threes.
That's a game changer.
On pretty high volume, too. It was not low volume. He shot the ball a lot from 3 and made a lot. The other guy I want to talk to today, people are asking, with a foul, they joined late, with a foul's Myers' fault. I mean, can Myers be in better position? Yes. Are you expecting too much when, there's no resistance at the point of attack and the ball is getting into Gobert?
Some of those fouls were almost like some no layup drill fouls. Yeah, you know how Riley's always had that ancient philosophy, which I don't even know that that's imposed, but it was kind of just hacking him to get him on the line to prevent an easy dunk or a layup. It's funny. We're talking about DJJ. He hit a buzzer beater to end the half, and it's now tied.
And that nice pass from Duncan actually there on the break. So yeah, they are tied, and I think for the Heat that's a pretty good result today, considering that they the way they started this game. But I think something like the stat they were showing was Gobert was 7 of 8 from the field, and the rest of the team was the rest of the team was 9 of 29. They did a really good job. We'll get Alex in on some of this. They did a really good job on Donovan Mitchell. And there were a couple of circumstances I thought, particularly Iguodala and Crowder. It's just they just cover a lot of ground. Let me bring you in on this, Alex. We talked about Myers-Leonard, and again, we don't really think it was Myers' fault because they were not controlling the point of attack at all at the beginning of the game. But the one thing I think that we've kind of settled on now, this DJJ versus Crowder question is looking like a no contest to me because they can play 5 men offensively with Crowder, and they can't with Derek, it appears, in the way that they're being played. I mean, do you see this any different?
No, I'm laughing at the comments here, but yeah, I agree with you guys. I thought we were doing a halftime show. I got on right at halftime, but so Alf thought the same thing apparently.
Well, you beat Alf 3 straight times, so that's good though. No hashtag Alex do better. That's fine. It's all good. It's tropical sunrise. Go ahead.
I completely agree with you guys there. The point of attack, I think, was the problem. And I'm not going to lie, I thought Hero did a pretty good job, all things considered, guarding Donovan Mitchell, somebody who is just physically superior to him at this point. Donovan Mitchell's obviously still young, but he's just so much more built. And even then, Donovan Mitchell, as we all saw, didn't hit his first shot until he got that wide open 6 of 10. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's the point of attack that really messed things up for them, where Gobert was just caught in a hot little stretch there, and they kind of had to go climbing from behind as a result. But the bench defense was phenomenal.
Yeah.
The Heat bench just completely outplayed the Jazz bench. It wasn't even really close.
You see the depth. I mean, like, it's undeniable when you saw the second units, and obviously there's a little bit of crossover with starters. You know, 4 or 5 are bench guys, but there is a significant difference between the Jazz depth and the guys that you can see are making competent reads and that have kind of been through this before. So that's again, we sound like broken records, but it's just, you got to continue to harp on that depth, man.
Well, but it wasn't a mix really. The first stint, he played 5. I mean, he rolled for a long time with Dragic, Olynyk, Crowder, Iguodala, and Hill. And that Hill spot would be Hero, basically, if Jimmy was starting. I just, again, and then, you're basically plugging in Bam for DJJ. I'll get to you, and we want to get to some other stuff out, but I'll let you weigh in on this. I mean, is DJJ going to be a member of the 10-man rotation? Because right now it looks to me like he's the 11th guy.
Oh, we can't hear you, Alf.
Yep. I can't hear him.
Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, my bad. I unpaused the StreamYard, but had my mic muted. So
that's all right. You guys are both true to form. It's good. It's good. That's why we love you.
Listen, I was watching the game. I was very focused on the game.
On a Saturday, I'm impressed. Go ahead.
I'm also a little bit tipsy. So anyway.
Okay. Also true to form. I called that before you came on. Go ahead.
I started drinking watching the New York Liberty game because it was a reason to drink. What was I saying? Okay, Derrick Jones Jr. Someone pointed it out that they're parking Gobert on him. They're not really respecting the shot from him, and it becomes a liability offensively if he doesn't hit those shots. Plain and simple. So if he's not hitting his shots, guys like Jay Crowder, guys like Andre Iguodala, guys that other teams have to respect from the perimeter are going to get those minutes over him. Even Solomon Hill came in and made a shot. And Solomon Hill was solid as hell defensively.
Solid man.
I mean, like,
Solid Man Hill.
Yeah, Solid Man Hill. Like that should be his nickname. Solid Man Hill. Like, he was just really, I mean, he just did what he was supposed to do. And he was just useful. And Derrick Jones Jr. for stretches wasn't useful.
Right.
And honestly, if there's any stint where Bam isn't playing, Derrick Jones Jr. next to Myers Leonard is not the answer.
No.
And I think we saw that tonight.
No. To me, if Bam's not playing, Jay needs to play those minutes. It's just he gives you more versatility, more shooting.
I mean, it's tough though, because it's like
does.
If Myers has to play up on somebody because of what we're talking about, because of the point of attack being such a weak point, where it ends up kind of forcing Myers a little bit out of his rim protection zone, you kind of want there to be somebody else who can help on the back line, who has some, what's they call that they said with Roy Hibbert, the
verticality.
Yeah, but I was thinking of something else.
That died when Roy did. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I was just saying, you want somebody else in the back line who is, I think Derrick Jones Jr. is undoubtedly a better rim protector than Jay Crowder. But that's why this kind of roster is a little bit of a puzzle to figure out when you're doing these lineups, just because there's so many similar level guys, and you're just doing the offense, defense, towing the line and trying to figure out that balance. And I think that's something he's trying out there. Well,
I want to get to Kelly Olynyk too, because Kelly isn't giving himself the green light. It's like the double green light. Like he jacked from 27. I don't really have a problem with it because of the way he was shooting before we went to break. I almost feel like they've added a player.
Vertical spacing. Somebody said it there in the comments.
But vertical spacing.
Oh, it was David.
Was Chris Anderson. That's what we used to talk about with Chris Anderson and LeBron. It's verticality. It was.
Oh no, you're right.
Vertical spacing is offense.
But we got a comment from Jack that KO's looking good. I just think that it's like they've added a player, because he was a below average player for them for a good portion of the year, and I don't think he ever got right. I just don't think he ever got right.
Well, we called it all year long. We said he wasn't healthy. He didn't look healthy.
Right. Yeah,
he couldn't move.
Going into the year, I think a lot of people thought, I think we maybe all thought that Olynyk and Bam, because of some of what the advanced metrics showed, like that was kind of a natural combination. And then when that didn't transpire, I felt like Olynyk was kind of trying to find his way, and that probably further kind of amplified maybe some of the stuff that he was dealing with physically. But if you get this kind of Olynyk that is stretching the floor and we know he has the green light, I feel you're right. It's like adding another element to this that I don't think we went into this thinking that the team had. So it's really a game changer, because I also have a feeling the same way that we're seeing DJJ get schemed out in certain ways, I think that there's going to be some situations where Myers gets schemed out, and Kelly Olynyk is going to have the ability to do some things offensively that Myers just doesn't do. That is going to be super important for the team.
Kelly got drafted.
Kelly got drafted off of his offensive profile in Gonzaga. That was his whole thing, playing out of the post, somebody who could shoot. He had, he has a little bit of ball skills for a big man, like we talked about in the past. And that's why it's just like, I'm not surprised that Kelly can do this every once in a while. He's just a more skilled offensive player than Myers.
How about the step back jumper like Dwayne? Or like,
offensively, the Goran, KO, Jay Crowder, and Iggy and Hero are going to be such a problem for second units. Like if Hero wasn't hitting from beyond the arc tonight, and we see what happens when you put him against a starting unit without a guard next to him that can defend at a high level.
Well, let's be honest. Without Jimmy, I mean,
without Jimmy, but you put
that's one.
But those guys on the second unit, man, they're gonna kill other second units.
But they are. But here's my only thing with Hero on the second unit. If Eric's gonna roll 5, let's assume that they go back to the old starting lineup, and then let's assume again that it's DJJ becomes the 11th guy, Solomon Hill becomes the 12th guy, and you're essentially playing Olynyk, Crowder, Iguodala, Hero, Dragic. We know that Hero and Dragic have offensive chemistry together, but I do feel like Hero's best moments came on the court with Jimmy. And so to me, that's one of the things that Eric's going to have to manage, because if you want to roll the 5, that's fine. I still think Tyler's going to be on the court at the end of games with Jimmy next to him, because there is a comfort level there that I just think Tyler feels free when he's playing with Jimmy. And I know that he looked great with Nunn in the preseason, but you can see what the limitations are when they go up in class a little bit. And that is that they're getting broken down off the dribble all the time. They don't really know who's supposed to handle and who's not. And I feel like the Heat are a little bit caught here because, and I think we've all mentioned this, everybody they're targeting in free agency other than Giannis is a 2-guard, right? Free agency or trade. So it's like, this is not only are they trying to win this year, but this is an extended audition for Tyler Hero to see, can he play next to an elite 2-guard going forward, which means he's going to need to handle more, but you're throwing a lot on his plate right now, and I feel like when Jimmy comes back next to him, it's more, okay, just do what you do, okay, and let Jimmy handle that stuff. Exactly.
Agreed. I feel like Tyler did look more comfortable today, and that's like coming off of the game where he didn't shoot well, 0 for 7 from 3 in the first scrimmage, to come back and be a little bit more poised and he hit a few shots and stuff like that. He didn't look like he was being rushed as he was handling the ball. So that's all good stuff. And I think ultimately, like, if I had to predict the closing lineup now, I'd probably lean in the direction of Jimmy, Tyler, Iggy, Bam, and Duncan Robinson. I feel like that's like probably the good mix of defense, IQ, shooting, like kind of all the different elements that you would need. So I think like if I had to go with a 5 to close right now, that would be it.
Well, Iggy makes great decisions out there.
No, he does. We were talking about there. One thing I want to say, people are asking some questions. We will not pod tonight. This game that we're watching on a stream will be available on Fox Sports Sun tonight at 8:00. This comes in Crowder over Iggy. So let me go to you guys on this. I think Iggy is the guy, but I think it's going to be Crowder, Duncan that becomes the offense-defense substitution situation late in games. In other words, I think Iggy is and I think it's Hero or Dragic in a lot of those situations, and it's Crowder or I think Iggy is. I think Iggy is part of the Final 5. I just, knowing Eric's history, he's going to want to put that guy on the floor and just not worry about that position.
He does tend to trust veterans. Like we saw that with Joe Johnson in 2016.
Well, even just guys,
don't bring that up.
Too much.
Even like just guys to inbound, like just to have a guy that you can trust to make inbound passes and not turn it over late in games. Like that's the kind of stuff that Spo will inject a guy into a lineup for. So, I mean, I do think that you're right though, that Crowder is is dependable enough and productive enough that if Iggy is looking a little slow one night, or he's off, or just kind of maybe the minutes and the intensity is too much at certain points because he hasn't played that much all year, that we could see Crowder for extended stretches. So like by the end of the playoffs, Crowder may average more minutes per game. But if you're talking about when the minutes happen, I think it's going to be more Iguodala.
I think what needs to happen is Eric. I'm not trying to tell him how to do his job. I did coach Pee Wee basketball, so
that's Alex's role.
Yeah, that's Alex's job. But Eric needs to not get married to any one of these guys, especially when you're talking about that rotation of DJJ, Iggy, Crowder, like Solomon Hill, like whoever has it going that night probably just needs to keep it going. Because I feel like all those guys can have hot nights. They're all competent defensively. Probably the one you trust least offensively right now is Derek Jones Jr., which is kind of wild.
Okay, somebody
yeah.
says it.
No, put that back up, Manny.
Put it back up, Manny. All right, look at this.
What is happening there?
I don't know. I took it with me to the beach yesterday. And I'm not going to get AirPods. I'm just not. I don't like them. They don't fit.
You don't need it.
Why not just untangle them once?
Yes, like stop.
Like right now, for the live audience, untangle them once.
They retangle. All right, you guys do your thing. I want to see if this is done by the time this game is over. You ready?
It's like a slideshow.
Stop blaming wires for the fact that you can't untangle them. Like you don't need AirPods to be competent as a human being. Like come on, you're killing us.
Or even better, just use the microphone.
Well, I'm not doing that.
The problem is he never uses the video for Zoom chats.
No.
So like we don't see this.
This is compelling content, y'all. Like this is what they came to see.
Look at this. Here we go. Threading it. Right now.
I'll buy Ethan headphones. Please get this off the screen.
Threading the needle like Iggy to KO in the first half.
That's as good.
That's much better.
No, it's not. It's still not right.
You can't see what's below here. You don't know what's going on there.
No, I'm talking about what I see. There's still like a loop to loop.
I don't think it would pass a heat conditioning test.
No, it would not.
What is
it's Hurricane Ethan. All right, what the hell were we talking about? Has this game come back? Because it hasn't on my stream yet. On my very legal stream.
It just started.
Okay, I'm out because
started the third quarter. We're starting.
All right, I'm out. It's in a different room, so I'm going.
Oh no, but Alf, before you go, just final thoughts here. Do we need? Is it important to see Bam and Jimmy play in the third scrimmage?
I don't think so. I think those guys. I think those guys have such a comfort level with each other. I think it's probably more important for guys like Solomon Hill and actually Solomon Hill, Andre, and Jay probably are the guys who need the most minutes, the most time on the floor with this team, with this coaching staff. So no, I don't think it's important for Bam and Jimmy. They're going to come back in. Yes, Alf. First of all, can Alf always come in tipsy? Alf is always coming in tipsy. You guys just don't know.
Just caught an alley-oop, a beautiful alley-oop.
All right. I'm out. You guys are killing me.
Get out of here. We're going to do this for another 5 minutes. The Heat start with up 50-47. They start with the same starting lineup, so no changes to the starting lineup. I would anticipate, I'm guessing maybe Goran gets one stint here, possibly. But otherwise, I think you maybe see a little Gabe Vincent here. Whether we see Akpala or not. Beautiful feed there from Duncan Robinson to DJJ, a lob for Dunk. Duncan's passing has improved dramatically.
Yeah.
These are the things.
Reads, man. He makes reads.
If he becomes a competent passer like what we just saw, and he has the ability to hit threes off the dribble in any capacity, like I don't even know what his ceiling is. Like it changes the trajectory of his career in so many ways. And I know that that's like kind of weird to say that these little things can have that kind of impact, but he's so automatic and deadly. And there's so much gravity around him when he's shooting on the edges, like just to do these little things. It's huge.
I don't even know where that comes from. We can talk about their development, but like, this is not something that he showed at all.
No,
I definitely think that's something they're drilling into him. It just makes so much sense because, like Leif said, the guy commands so much gravity where it's like you have the defense kind of making sure that he's being tagged, whether they're switching or not on screens. They're making, if you look every time you know the Heat are playing, Duncan Robinson is being chased around like a madman. Like they focus on him so much, and if he's not able to get the shot off and somebody else is kind of helping off, he's been able to recognize those reads, and I think that's something that they've really drilled into him because it's always going to be there for him. That the gravity is always going to be out there, in the sense that he's going to always be guarded. So there's probably a pass to make at that point if somebody else is helping. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I'm also watching defensively. They've done a little better job this half of so far of controlling Utah.
I've seen a lot of comments asking about KZ, and the more that I've thought about this, although I thought that this was going to be an opportunity for them to take a look at KZ, if you really look at the roster and the wings and the amount of all of the, like all these guys that we've talked about, like at some point Spo has to draw a line in the sand and say like, okay, we need to prepare for the playoffs. We only have 8 games. So as much as I wanted to see him, it probably was maybe a pie in the sky, a little unrealistic to think we were going to get extended stretches where we got to see him play.
But again, it makes the point that, if we're saying that DJJ may not get in the 10-man rotation and you've got KZ on the come up.
No 4-year deals.
I don't think there's going to be any 4-year deals. I don't. I think they've, as much as I understand what you're saying, that there may be more to see here with DJJ. And he does give them what we said, vertical spacing. He gives them an outlet.
Well, honestly,
to go above
the
vertical, rim, but still, it's tough.
The vertical spacing, I was wrong about that because that's an offensive thing. But I'm watching the way that they use him on offense, and that is kind of what he provides. They keep using him as a roll man. Specifically with Jimmy and Bam not there, who are kind of their big get to the paint guys. They're using Derrick Jones Jr. to kind of fill in those gaps a little bit because they have so many shooters out there that guys are going to play up, and that lob attempt might be available.
Future Heat guard Donovan Mitchell just hit a 3.
All right, well let's talk about that briefly before we go. And by the way, Duncan just made a great cut to get a layup, which is another thing that he's developing. So there's these little things that he's doing.
Pretty.
Let's talk about it. And he just made a great pass to Myers on the interior when he got pressed with the second guy. Again, these are little. People are going to focus on Duncan didn't hit 4 threes early today, but it's the little things that look good as Mitchell just makes a 3 in transition. Let's talk about Mitchell a little bit here because, there's been some buzz over the past 24 to 48 hours about him. Buzz. I mean, we talk more about Oladipo. We talk more about Beal. But, I mean, Donovan Mitchell has a relationship with people in the Heat organization. He doesn't seem to have much of a relationship with Rudy. He was battling with Jazz fans a little bit. He's gotten very sort of involved in the BLM movement, and we know that Utah, not the friendliest city to that kind of stuff. I mean, what are the chances? I mean, he's their franchise player, right? So I mean, they're not going to give him up for nothing. But and he's making almost nothing in the next couple of years.
This is tricky because in 2021 he'll be entering restricted free agency. So essentially the Jazz kind of hold all the cards there. The only like outside chance is if Donovan were to make it messy, but he's not really that kind of guy that I think is going to create waves like that. But I mean, ultimately, all I can say is that I think that there's mutual interest there between between Donovan and Heat players. I think that there's relationships and there's obvious when you look at the team that there's ways that they can fit, but the way that can happen from a transactional perspective, it gets really tricky to figure out how that they, it would take a pretty monumental shift in something happening in Utah for it to be viable. And so as much as I love to like go down this road, and y'all know I'm going to hope traffic as much as I can. I think if you asked players on the Heat and you asked Donovan Mitchell, they would be open to the idea. But I don't know how it can happen.
Kendrick Nunn, a couple comments coming in that he looks lost today. I think he looks fine from his conditioning, but I just watched him twice trying to get around a screen, and he's been the point of attack problem for the most part today. It hasn't been as much Tyler. It's the reason we don't mention him as a closer, because offensively there's things he could provide that I think they can use late in games, but we don't even talk. We talk about Dragic, your hero, being that extra guard. We don't really talk about Kendrick. He's going to have to clean that stuff up if he wants to play some of those late minutes.
Oh, no doubt.
I do think offensively he gives them something, absolutely, and he does make better decisions than he used to. But The point of attack stuff is tough.
They need to sit him down and just make him watch like 60 hours of Eric Bledsoe on defense, because he is one of the biggest reasons that Bucks defense works so well with the same scheme that the Heat employ. It's because Bledsoe is, I mean, the thing is with Bledsoe also is that he's, really burly for a point guard and 6'4", so he obviously has the size advantage. But at the end of the day, it's really about the way that you defend the screens, and you got to kind of, it's a communication thing, but at the same time, if you're skinny and you're going to kind of get beat on these screens, he's got to get better at anticipating them and fighting around them, because there's so many times where they keep, they keep getting abused because of that.
Question came in before that.
And it's not just him, by the way.
No, it's Dragic too, and it's Hero. But I'm just saying,
Hero does it some too.
But Goran is going to play because Goran is Goran.
That's how he can make himself stand out, really. If he were to really improve on that, or at least become a lot more
because I don't think
Goran,
because we know Goran doesn't have that upside. But Goran, it's not going to get better at this stage of his career. But the question comes in, is a good place for us to close. We've gone 30 minutes, and again, we'll have a new pod out Monday morning. Ethan, Greg, and Alex, who do you think could become a better defender, Nunn or Hero? I think it's a good. We talk about Hero's offensive upside being higher, even though Nunn may be more polished right now. Who could be a better defender?
That's actually tough. I mean, just trying to project. I mean, Hero's been the better defender so far. It's not like he's been way better than Kendrick Nunn. He's still, that's one of his weaknesses too, the point of attack and coming off screens. But he's a better one-on-one guy, I think, than Kendrick Nunn is. But at the end of the day, projecting forward, like we talked about before, I'm going to give it to Kendrick Nunn just because I think he's really fast. I mean, he's not De'Aaron Fox, but we've seen that he's got some of those physical talents where I think he'll be able to, after getting a couple more seasons down, he'll be a little bit better. And I don't think it'll be as much of a, what are those doors in like a New York hotel?
The swinging doors.
Yes.
No, that's not
the best way to describe the Heat's problem on defense. The swinging doors.
No, I want to say revolving door, but that's not what it is either.
Revolving doors.
I'm actually going to go in the opposite direction. I think that Hero is actually the guy that can end up becoming the better defender for a couple reasons. I mean, one, obviously he's looked marginally better now, but this is the other big one, is that when I look at the frame of both players, Tyler Hero and Kendrick Nunn, I feel like Tyler has more to go in terms of the way he can develop his body physically, things like that. And if he puts on more weight and gets a little bit more, like strength is a big thing with defense that we don't talk about, core strength and stuff like that. And if he builds his body the way that other Heat draft picks have built their body, I feel like that combined with some of the stuff that maybe isn't as much situational defensively, but like defensive rebounding, for instance, is a big one. I think that it's going to lean
He's already
Hero.
good at that. He's already good.
Exactly.
Did you see what he just tried to do?
He just tried to dunk on Gobert.
He just tried to dunk on Gobert. I mean,
I love it.
Rudy got him, and I think there was a foul there.
That was full contact, though. That wasn't like Rudy Gobert was around him. He tried to go right over Gobert. That was.
He was trying to pick up coronavirus just directly, just pumping right into his veins. There's no social distancing there from Tyler. All right. Thanks. Did you see that? Did you watch it?
Yeah, just now saw the replay.
Yeah, I mean that's the replay you're gonna see. He tried. Rudy was laughing, but Tyler got up. I mean, I think again, I don't want to downplay Tyler's athleticism. It is there. It's definitely there. I think that there's more, like you said, he can do from a strength perspective, and they'll get him in the gym this offseason because he is built kind of wiry. Kendrick is more of.
Don't forget the short arms.
Product. Oh, of course, the short arms. That's right.
Shout out to Nikias.
Do matter though.
I mean, his arms didn't look short there. I mean, he was trying to go over Rudy Gobert.
Oh, a little longer. He might have finished that dunk.
All right. Thanks for watching and listening. Thanks to Manny for producing. We do have one bit of good news. The 5 Reasons Sports Bubble Pop-Up Shop is back up. It was shut down. We had to appeal because the design was so good that they thought Adam Smoot stole it. So we were able to
cancel culture strikes again.
Show that it was there, so you can get the
culture always coming after Smoot.
Always go, yes, exactly. You can get the drip. You get the drip shirt. You can get
that's the one.
The bubble dribble shirt. Those are all going to be there, and I think those shirts are $14. So they're cheaper than our other shirts, and I've already got mine. It took a week, not even. So they're delivering them quickly during COVID. So check that out on our feed. 5 Reasons Sports. New episode. We'll be doing it Sunday night, dropping it for Monday morning. Black Lives Matter shirt is on the site as well. We're able to make a $500 donation to Know Your Rights. So that we were able to send that over the weekend. You can get these shirts. You can get the Haslam shirt. You get the Bucket Brothers shirt and all of our shirts. Thanks for joining us. Look at this. Almost.
Wow. Look at the
We'll
progress.
be there by next time.
Next time.